Assalamualaikum to our lecturer, Madam Zurina binti Madnin, and all my fellow classmates. Today, we are from AM2286I, Group 1. We'll be presenting about the topic that have been chosen, the public sector ethos in Malaysia. I am Muhammad Fikri bin Yusof with my other group members, which is Muhammad Amirul bin Zahari, Muhammad Adam bin Muhammad Usairi, Irfan Izzat bin Ismail, and Luqman Hakim bin Emli. I will explain about the introduction for our presentation. The purpose of this seminar paper is to defining the term regarding the public sector and ethos since traditional public administration TPA until the transformation to new public management NPM. In addition, in this seminar paper, it is also contain a process of analyzing the current issue arise in the context of public sector ethos in Malaysia. Authors trying to provide a good recommendation to improve the public sector services when delivering the task. In fact, public sector is one of the dominant component or backbones for government in the country, so it is required all parties to involve in improving the public sector services, especially in the context of ethos. Next, I will continue our presentation with the conceptual definition. Firstly, I will defining the term of public sector. Generally, public sector is the branch of government that strive to serve the public and fulfill their needs, the public needs. So the public sector also involved in coordinating the interests of various groups such as government and government linked companies or GLC. In other contexts, public sector is a process of decision making and implementation in the modern state in the term of public policy and policy implementation. Public sector need to maintain the high transparency and double their effort to strengthen the ethos structure in delivering the services to public. Ethos in public sector is strongly related because any behavior will represent government as a whole. And it is necessary to increase the public trust by showing a high integrity and high transparency. Next, I will explain about the concept of ethos. Ethos, or in other words, ethics, can be defined as a practice or values that differentiate a person, organization, or society from others. According to Collins English Dictionary, the word ethos is a distinctive character, spirit, attitudes of people, culture, and era. Related with the public sector, ethos is an essential component in the public sector because it involves individuals or personnel in the public sector as a whole. Generally, a good ethos will give an excellent impression to the public, to the public sector, while a wrong ethos will be criticized by the public. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Amirul bin Zahari, and I will explain what exactly the public sector ethos and public sector ethos in Malaysia. Public sector ethos under traditional public administration can be classified as an administration under the formal control of political leadership based on a strictly hierarchical model of bureaucracy, permanent staff, neutral, motivated only by interest, and serving the governing party equally based on Hughes 2003. The government structure under traditional public administration has received many criticism and it seems problematic, and many issues arise such as the problem with bureaucracy. The most commonly accepted complaint are inefficiency accountability, and transparency in the public sector. While the public sector ethos under new public management can be defined as a direct response to the inadequacies of traditional public administration (TPA), particularly in the weaknesses of public bureaucracies based on Ben 2001. The reform idea in the structure of NPM is that the planning for moral improvement in the public sector impacts the nature of democracy, law, motivation, and ethics in the public domain, and also the state's communication with civil society. The impact of transformation from traditional public administration to new public management in terms of public sector ethos in Malaysia is the establishment of Public Complaint Bureau. It is a mechanism which allowed public to lodge complaint on malpractice and abuse of power in public sector. Next, we proceed to what is exactly public sector ethos in Malaysia. In accordance with transformation from traditional public administration (TPA) to new public management, the world economic crisis often occurred on 1970 until the 2000. It caused most countries in the world want to transform from traditional public administration (TPA) to new public management (NPM). This is because of the poor policy and management resulted to transformation new public management. Of the experience, new public management reform was occurred in Singapore, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. All these countries are former British colonies that have inherited a comparable administration system substantially inspired by the British colonial model. In this context, the reform proposed by the new public management in Singapore and Malaysia are consistent with existing state tradition and political ideologies. Independence, the Malaysian administration has adopted the British administration as the structure of government to govern the country. Malaysia has adopted Westminster style of parliamentary democracy, which is adopted following independence. In the 1980s, the focus was on restructuring the public management system to introduce dynamism into the traditional bureaucracy. Reform ideas were implemented under the concept of Malaysian Incorporated to strengthen the professional competence of the civil service and development administrative leadership. Malaysia has changed to the new public management took place in the early 1980s under the rule of Malaysian Prime Minister at that time, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. New public management models initial focus was on how to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of public sector ethos organizations. The government has taken several initiatives to transform the public sector ethos in Malaysia. Among the action taken by the government is improved application of good ethical value and free from corruption and abuse of power. Therefore, government has introduced various programs such as the concept of clean, efficient, and trustworthy, bersih, cekap, and amanah, excellent work culture, budaya kerja cemerlang, and code of work ethics, code etika bekerja. Initiative taken by the government to transform public sector ethos in Malaysia is the establishment of the Manpower Planning Unit, MAMPU, to carry out administration modernization and human resources development. The government supported private sector participation in national development while maintaining flexibility and efficiency in its policy and initiative. Malaysia has set up the task force to identify and eliminate bureaucratic processes across the board. Customer focus is essential for all government agencies that interface directly with the private sector and the general public.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Luqman Hakim bin Emri, and I will be continuing on the challenges of the public sector. Despite various methods and system adaptations of the new public management popularized by the colonial government, our country still encounter issues of ethics regarding public actors. The sole purpose for the shift from traditional public management to new public management philosophy is to increase the effectiveness in the financially and productivity through limiting bureaucratic procedures while maintaining the quality of service and delivery as well as transparency and upholding the rule of law of the country. And despite we'll highlight the challenges faced in sustaining ethics as well as the system of the related issues. The first challenges is the political will. Political will is defined as the political actors' determination in carrying out national duties to result in a desired outcome. In the context of this paper, the lack of political will in certain public actors in Malaysia may result in the effectiveness of sustaining ethics. Political actors of the national level should acknowledge the importance of political will, especially when it relates to matters of national interest and public service. Political determination has to be in a state of constant consistency because the main reason for a political actor or politician is elected is mainly on their propaganda promises, which mostly consist of promising benefits to the citizens or promising ideas of national development. The absence of political determination will produce a significant impact on a developing nation. It cannot be denied that political will or political determination is the fuel for developments of a nation, such as policy reform, development, implementation, as well as institutional establishment. However, the absence will only delay the development of the nation as the political actors responsible lack the determination in executing those implementations. In the context of public sector actors, it is only ethical of a political actor to fulfill election propaganda that will benefit the nation, which may fail if the actor lacks political will in executing that propaganda. The effects of the lack of political determination will directly translate to the failure of executing government projects or reforms, as well as arising issues of malpractices and incompetency. Moreover, the lack of political will result in the administration being questioned of their competency and stray from the perception of good governance. Another issue of ethical dilemma surrounding our administrative system is government or administrative secrecy. Access to administrative information is essential for the development of democracy. In the context of this paper, administrative or government secrecy may abstain from the sustainability of ethics and the concept of public sector ethos being compromised. Public actors of a developing country that practice democracy and transparency should acknowledge the importance of administrative transparency and its cruciality in a democratic nation. The law that governs administrative secrecy in our country has been used to silence criticisms of the public regarding sensitive matters of the administration. However, there seems to be a gray area of distinction of what information is actually sensitive for the public view. A provision in the Official Secret Act 1972 stated that any public actor, particularly appointed by a minister, may declare and classify any government information confidential, regardless of the level of sensitivity. This signifies that any information has the ability to be considered a secret or confidential once a public actor has classified it as an official secret. In addition, the Act not only highlights information or documents that can be classified as an official secret, but locations are also included. Physical locations such as military bases, government areas, and detainment areas have the potential to be classified as an official secret with only a mere approval of the right public actor. The issue arises when the public started to question the limits of the Official Secrets Act 1972 that also classified absurd information to be an official secret. For instance, the air pollution index and the sexual crime statistics. Moreover, criticisms towards the act mainly concerns the vagueness and discretion of the powers possessed by public actors to classify something as an official secret. It is only ethically correct to practice transparency. However, transparency to an extent may compromise national sovereignty, and it cannot be denied that some information is better off locked from public knowledge. Moving on to another challenge of Malaysian public sector, another challenge of maintaining ethics in the public sector is executive and political interference. Executive interference in the context of public sector can be referred to the interference of political actors in the bureaucratic process and decision making for their private gains. In our country, interference by political actors is widespread. To an extent, executive or political actors possess critical sensitive positions that enable them to attempt malpractices and corruption. The roles of political actors and public administrators should be distinguished. Political interference has the potential to undermine the good governance and transparency of a democratic government through disruptions in decision-making process and bureaucratic process that may cause the inefficiency and effectiveness of the public service. Moreover, executive interference gives more room for maladministration, particularly sensitive matters such as public funds and misuse of the government machinery. In the context of public sector ethics, political actors are obligated to practice discretionary and separation of powers in the aspect of public machinery and service so as to not raise the issue of conflict of interest and prevent the path for malpractices. Moreover, the role of public administrator should be independent and stray from executive interference to ensure the impartiality and neutrality of the public service. Moving on to the ethical reform changes in Malaysian public sector. Malaysia has long to familiarize itself with the concept of ethical reform through adaptation of the Western philosophy of new public management. The massive shift from the traditional public administration dates back to the era of post-independence or the post-British colonialism to a massive extent, such as to adopting the Westminster parliamentary system. The Malaysian public sector was included during the shift as the newly independent nation realized the need for administrative reform in order to kickstart the development of socio-economic as well as promoting public accountability following their independence. One of the most important forms of ethical reform in the context of Malaysian public administration was the introduction of Malaysia Incorporated. Basically, the idea of Malaysia Incorporated was that the country would be considered as a single corporation, with private sectors being parallel with expansion and development of the corporation. Malaysia Incorporated, that was introduced by the fourth Prime Minister, was the brainchild of the mother policy, which is the Look East policy. In the context of ethical reform changes, Malaysia has been observing and adopting Western management philosophy of new public management (NPM) since before the independence. However, the public sector reform in Malaysia does not limit their adaptation of new management philosophies in the Western world, but also adapt philosophies from the Eastern nations as well. Japan and Korea possess a progressive and productive work culture that contributes to the success of their economic upturn. Along with it, Malaysia managed to shift their model of reliance from mining to agriculture and shifted to manufacturing and technological research. Outcomes of the policy, the Look East policy, serve many changes in the Malaysian public sector, such as promoting quality and efficient work culture and public accountability. Programs such as Q Day or Quality Day and the introduction of the Client Charter and Code of Ethics serve the purpose of upholding the public sector ethics and the efficiency of the public service itself. However, through the context of this section, public sector ethics in Malaysia still requires extensive and thorough modifications to promote the essentiality of public sector ethics in delivering efficient, quality, and impartial public service.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Irfan Izzati Ismail. So today I will present on the topics recommendation, which the point starts with implementation of MACC Act. MACC stands with Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. These are the initiatives taken by the government in order to overcome the issue of corruption. The issue of corruption has been a major concern for country for past few years, where Malaysia has now ranked 57 out of 180 countries. MACC Act is committed to investigate all sorts of corruption and abuse of power by the individual in the public sector. The misconduct of person will be fined through the policies under the Act based on their offences. The provision requires all top management to properly comply with anti-corruption laws and regulation in every organisation. Furthermore, the implementation of MACC Act helps to monitor civil servants' performance in the government. This is to ensure the accountability among the civil servant and to prevent the breach of duty when delegates with their jobs. Plus, the implementation of MCCA Act has educated and gained trust from the community against corruption. So, we will move to the next point, which is boosting transparency through information technology. The issue of transparency among the civil servant contributes to the decline of public trust towards the public sector. The adoption of IT, information technology, is one of the ways to improve the service in the public sector. Furthermore, information technology helps to deliver the services more quickly and efficiently. This may include the dissemination of information in the websites. The transparency among the civil servant has led to open data to public to improve the services. The public sector open data was launched by Malaysian Administrative Modernization and also Mampu. So its role is to introduce various initiatives to improve the administration and performance management system, which is to increase the public service system more efficiently. Lastly, it is to ensure the transparency among the civil servant can be achieved. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Adam bin Muhammad Zahiri. So, I will continue with another recommendation in order to solve the issues that has been faces by the public sector. So, as we all know, every civil servant needs to play their own role in performing their tasks with honesty and integrity. So, the red tape among the civil servant has been going on for the past few years. Any strategies or alternative should be taken in order to bring back a good image towards the government, including its civil servant. So any kind of mispractice or misconduct among civil servants should not happen in the first place. They need to have a sense of responsibility as a civil servant, since they are working not only for the government but also for the people. Not only it can bring the government sovereignty, but it also can the government also can gain the people's trust. So besides from the committing misconduct, exposing the people who commit it can also bring a good reputation to the government. Public Service Department Director General Tan Sri Muhammad Khairul Adib Abdul Rahman said that civil servants need to report any misconduct in ministries, departments or agencies in an effort to prevent a leakage, especially misuse of power. He also said that there are various channels that the civil servant can use to report or convey any kind of information regarding the misconduct to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission or the integrity unity in each ministry, department or agency. Tan Sri Muhammad Khairul Adib Abdul Rahman also state that in the media report that the people who report will have their identity along with the information given will be kept confidential and their safety is secure in accordance with existing regulation as provided under the Witness Protection Act 2009 and Witness Protection Act 2010. By doing this, the Public Service Department can take action against the civil servant who commit misconduct. Okay, for the conclusion, as addressed in this paper, the main focus in this seminar paper is defining the real meaning of public sector and ethos since before independence, which is traditional public administration, and it changed after independence to new public management. So this paper also found that the changes from traditional to new public management is due to the world economic crisis that occurred in 1970s until 2000s, which is with a poor public sector policy and management. Because of that, Mampu was established by the Malaysian government as an initiative to transform public sector ethos in Malaysia. There will always be a problem with everything. So this seminar paper found that the public sector faces many challenges and problems during this period. So for example, corruption among the civil servant, transparency and abuse of power. This is important to know since the problem or the challenges might be happening again in the future. So any strategies or alternative can be done at an early stage, so that these issues or problem can be prevented from happening. So in order to overcome this problem, the authors also came up with a solution such as establishment of Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, and boosting transparency through information technology, exposing the abuser. So the government plays an important role in maintaining the integrity of the civil servant. So any kind of issues should be faced without any delay before it's too late. So the government, along with the civil servants, need to work for the sake of the betterment of the country instead of their own beneficial purpose. That's all from us. Thank you so much.